Imagine a regular guy who went from total obscurity to becoming a true legend. A story of discipline, perseverance, and inspiration that still resonates across generations. He wasn't chasing fame, but somehow, he ended up conquering the world with sheer determination. Get ready for a journey that goes way beyond muscles and trophies. Here, you'll see how willpower alone can change lives and build legacies that last forever. So you know the drill. Grab your pre-workout and come along, because this story will keep you hooked from start to finish. Leo Robert was born on January 16, 1921, in Montreal, Canada, at a time when life was simple and centered around hard work. His father was a car mechanic. His mother was a devout Catholic raised in the countryside, and the home was built on values like responsibility, faith, and discipline. Robert grew up with those principles deeply rooted in his character. The Robert household was always lively. Leo shared his parents' affection with 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Among them was Regine, who years later would follow her brother's footsteps by opening a women's exercise studio, a bold move back then, when that was almost unheard of. That shared influence within the family shaped Leo's path, showing how the pursuit of health and strength could evolve into a family legacy. From an early age, Leo seemed to have endless energy. Growing up in the freezing Canadian winters, ice hockey was his big passion, but he wasn't tied down to just one sport. Baseball, swimming, soccer, and even boxing were part of his daily life, building an athletic foundation that would prove essential for his future in bodybuilding. That mix of sports taught him discipline, healthy competition, and true sportsmanship. But what really started shaping his body wasn't in the gym. It was at the docks, working as a longshoreman along the St. Lawrence River. Still young, Leo spent long, grueling shifts lifting and moving heavy cargo. Without realizing it, he was forging raw power that no gym machine could replicate. Unlike many bodybuilders who only trained under perfect conditions, Leo brought into the sport a rugged strength carved out by sweat and labor. Now, stop and think for a second. How many young people today, surrounded by modern conveniences, could survive that same pace? That early grind gave Robert more than just muscle. It gave him resilience and a whole different perspective on life. While others looked for shortcuts, he was already learning that real strength is built with patience, effort, and consistency day after day. At school and among friends, Robert stood out as someone determined. He had no idea he'd become a bodybuilding legend, but his natural leadership was clear. He was the kind of guy people respected, not just for his growing physique, but for his seriousness and commitment to everything he did. Those childhood and teenage years were the fertile ground where the seeds of his future career were planted. After his youth filled with sports and hard labor, Leo's life took a turn that almost derailed his path. When he left behind the active routine of sports and the docks for an office job, he suddenly found himself stuck in a sedentary lifestyle. It didn't take long before the mirror told the story. His waist ballooned to 35 inches, about 89 centimeters, and the body that once overflowed with energy looked drained by monotony. That's when fate intervened. One day, flipping through a bodybuilding magazine, Leo found the spark he needed. The pictures of strong, chiseled men lit a fire inside him that he hadn't felt before. He realized he could not only get his vitality back, but also reshape his life completely. So in 1944, at just 23 years old, he took his very first steps into the world of weight training. But the start was anything but easy. Robert later admitted he was soft and shapeless during those early workouts. Progress felt painfully slow, and the temptation to quit was always lurking. Who hasn't been there with their own goals? That moment when results don't show up fast enough and giving up feels like the only option? It's exactly then that perseverance becomes your strongest weapon. Luckily, Robert wasn't on his own. His friends encouraged him to push forward, reminding him that solid results take time. That support system was crucial. He gave himself one more chance, and it turned out to be the best decision of his life. In just 3 months, the transformation was undeniable. His arms grew from 14 to 16 inches, about 36 to 41 centimeters, with nothing more than basic exercises like the classic barbell curl. That first bit of progress didn't just change his body, it completely shifted his mindset. With every workout, Leo was rediscovering the confidence he thought he had lost. Bodybuilding stopped being just a physical activity and became a journey of self-mastery. Each rep wasn't only about lifting iron. It was about building a stronger, more disciplined, more determined version of himself. Interestingly, Robert never started out dreaming of being the best in the world. As he once said, "I began training just to feel better physically, not to become Mr. Universe." That line says everything about who he was at the core. He chased health and well-being first, and all the success that followed was just the natural result of his discipline and love for training. That humble, almost casual beginning carries a powerful lesson. So often, what starts as a personal attempt to improve yourself can grow into something way bigger. By 1947, Leo Robert began carving his name into bodybuilding history with standout victories. That year, he stepped into his first competitions and instantly proved the strength of his determination. At Mr. Montreal, he didn't just win. He took the overall title, impressing judges with the balance and proportion of his physique. Soon after, he captured the Mr. Province of Quebec crown and, along with it, the coveted pro card that officially launched his professional career. Those early wins opened the doors to an international stage. In 1948, Leo competed at the prestigious Mr. Eastern North America, where he finished second and also picked up Most Muscular honors. That result showed he wasn't just another rookie. He was already standing toe-to-toe with top names of the era, backed by the kind of muscle density that made his nickname, America's Most Muscular Man, start to ring true. Then came 1949, another milestone year. Robert competed at the IFBB Mr. America and landed third place overall. For a Canadian athlete to crack the podium on American soil was an achievement in itself. That recognition beyond his country's borders solidified his reputation and put him firmly on the radar of bodybuilding's international elite. In 1950, he kept the momentum going, taking second at the AAU Mr. Eastern America. But it wasn't just about stacking trophies. Each contest was a learning experience, sharpening his physique, his stage presence, and his strategy to face tougher and tougher rivals. This was a phase of steady evolution, as he fine-tuned the aesthetic balance that would become his signature look. The big breakthrough before ultimate glory came in 1951, when Robert won the Mr. Canada title, officially crowned as the best bodybuilder in the country. That victory not only elevated his status nationally, but also gave him the confidence to aim even higher. He wasn't just a local athlete anymore. He was stepping into the role of Canada's bodybuilding ambassador. The peak came in 1955, when Robert captured the biggest prize of them all, the NABA Mr. Universe. He won both the short class and the overall, becoming the very first Canadian in history to do so. That triumph was the reward for more than a decade of relentless training, discipline, and dedication. For many, that moment sealed his place among bodybuilding's true legends. With the nickname, the man with the mighty muscles of Montreal, Leo Robert became an icon. His career proved you didn't have to be born in the sports hotbeds to earn worldwide recognition. The real secret behind Leo Robert's success was his insane training discipline. While others chased shortcuts, he pushed through grueling double sessions, sometimes hitting the gym twice a day. His method was all about split routines, upper body one day, lower body the next, building symmetry and balance that made him a model of classic bodybuilding aesthetics. Even his maintenance routine showed how serious he was. His core lifts included bench press, dumbbell presses, pullovers, and lateral raises for his upper body, plus pull-ups, barbell curls, and triceps work. For legs, he hammered leg presses and extensions, always paired with a training to failure. Nothing was left behind. Every muscle group was carefully worked. His arms, which became one of his trademarks, got extra focus. As a beginner, he built size with the classic barbell curl, and even in advanced stages, it remained a staple, only with stricter form and deeper contractions. Later in his career, he added cheating curls to overload with heavier weight and shock his muscles into growth. To build rounder, more commanding biceps, he brought in single-arm dumbbell curls and incline curls, moves that stretched the muscle and hit that peak contraction. For triceps, he alternated between simple bodyweight drills, like floor dips, and tougher lifts like weighted parallel bar dips, skull crushers, and kickbacks. That combo carved out arms so iconic they landed on magazine covers all over the world. One of Robert's core principles was to never skip leg day. He firmly believed that true strength, and overall growth came from a solid foundation. That mindset set him apart in an era when plenty of bodybuilders focused only on their upper bodies. For Leo, a proportional physique was the real masterpiece. Another striking detail in his routine was his obsession with abs. He'd crank out up to 1,000 reps in just 30 minutes, often adding resistance by holding a barbell behind his head. That level of dedication gave him a midsection so sharp that even judges at competitions would sometimes test the rigidity of his abs during evaluations. Throughout his career, Robert always stressed that lifting heavy wasn't the end goal. Proper form, controlled movements, and balanced development mattered more. His training philosophy wasn't about chasing sheer size. It was about sculpting harmony across every muscle group. And if his workouts were intense, his nutrition matched the grind. For Leo, diet was the real key to building a balanced, defined, and healthy body. He understood early on that all the training in the world meant nothing if your body wasn't fueled right. That's why food wasn't an afterthought. It was a pillar of his lifestyle, treated with the same seriousness as the iron he lifted. Robert ate 6 meals a day, carefully structured to keep nutrients flowing nonstop. Lean proteins like chicken, fish, and beef anchored his recovery. He paired them with plenty of veggies and complex carbs to power through his twice-a-day workouts. That mix gave him steady energy and kept his performance from crashing. What really stood out, though, were his homemade supplements, creative solutions that reflected the simplicity of his time. Robert blended up protein shakes and high-calorie boosters made with malted milk, eggs, honey, and bananas. Primitive by today's standards, sure, but incredibly effective back then, long before the shelves were stacked with endless processed products. Later, he embraced more modern supplements, though he never abandoned his naturalist outlook. He swore by Udo's oil blend, a mix of essential oils he believed boosted not only performance, but overall health. Alongside his wife, Diane, he promoted natural supplementation as a way to improve energy, recovery, and even daily quality of life. Another thing that separated him from many of his peers was how he handled the so-called off-season. While other bodybuilders bulked up dramatically between contests and then crash-dieted to cut down, Leo preferred to stay dialed in year-round. For him, there was no point in swinging between extremes. True discipline was about staying consistent without wild fluctuations. That mindset reflected his focus on health above all. More than chasing massive muscles, Robert wanted longevity and quality of life. He knew a balanced diet would extend not just his career, but his ability to stay active well beyond the stage. Living to 95 years old is proof enough that his choices lined up with a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. When he talked about nutrition, Robert always reminded people that eating well wasn't just a contest strategy, it was a way of life. His philosophy still inspires today. Whatever your goal, building mass, losing weight, or simply feeling better, the foundation of any achievement is conscious, balanced nutrition. Among the bodybuilders of his time, Robert stood out for something beyond muscle size. His edge was in symmetry and proportion, qualities that, in the 1950s, weren't yet as celebrated as they are now. While many athletes chased bulk alone, often ending up with blocky, awkward physiques, Leo stayed true to a refined aesthetic. He saw the body as art, built with balance and attention to detail. For him, bodybuilding was never just about the stage or the medals. It was a true iron discipline, a philosophy of life that stretched far beyond the gym. Daily effort, consistency, and determination were principles he applied everywhere. He often said bodybuilding didn't just sculpt the body, it shaped character, teaching values that could be carried into every part of life. One of the defining aspects of his career was his firm stance against shortcuts. In the 1960s, as whispers of steroid use began creeping into the sport, Leo made his position crystal clear. To him, relying on artificial substances betrayed the very essence of bodybuilding, risking not only health, but also the integrity of work that should be earned through dedication. His outspoken rejection of that path was so strong that he eventually walked away from competition altogether, choosing to protect his values, no matter the cost. That stance showed exactly the kind of man Robert was, someone who valued honesty above glory. He could have stretched his competitive career, gone after more titles, maybe even rewritten records. But instead, he chose to stay true to his philosophy. And far from diminishing his legacy, that choice only strengthened his image as a symbol of ethics and discipline in bodybuilding. Another standout trait was his humility. Even though he was hailed as a legend, Leo never acted like he was above anyone else. Always warm and approachable, he made a point of chatting with fans, gym buddies, and young athletes looking up to him for inspiration. For many, he wasn't just a champion. He was a true ambassador of the sport, representing the very best bodybuilding had to offer. That attitude made him beloved not only in Canada, but around the world. While some bodybuilders carried a certain stigma in the eyes of the public, Robert earned respect through the way he carried himself. He proved you could be competitive without losing your humanity, that you could be a champion and still embody simplicity and kindness. With his victories and his impressive physique, Robert quickly drew the attention of fitness media. Between 1948 and 1960, he graced the covers of leading magazines like Your Physique, Muscle Power, Iron Man, Reg Park Journal, and Muscle Builder. Each cover was more than just a showcase of his balanced physique. It was a display of his discipline and aesthetic ideals. Those images traveled across the globe, cementing his place as one of the icons of bodybuilding's golden era. A huge part of that recognition came from his partnership with Joe Weider, one of the most influential figures in the sport's history. Joe believed in Leo's potential and promoted him heavily in magazines and events. That exposure not only boosted Robert's fame, but also solidified his credibility as a model athlete in a scene largely dominated by Americans. His photo sessions with legendary photographers like Tony Lanza and Russ Warner also became unforgettable. Lanza, in particular, had a gift for capturing the essence of classical aesthetics, and together they created images now considered true works of bodybuilding art. These shots went beyond showing muscle. They radiated elegance, proportion, and a sense of athletic beauty that defined a generation. After his Mr. Universe win in 1955, Robert reached an even higher level of fame. That victory didn't just put him in bodybuilding's Hall of Fame. It opened doors outside the sport. He began giving interviews on radio shows and TV programs, speaking on topics like health, discipline, and quality of life, introducing bodybuilding to audiences who had never paid it much attention before. The impact was so great that Montreal, his hometown, even held parades in his honor. In one of them, Robert was celebrated with a huge motorcade and greeted like a hero by crowds who admired not just the athlete, but the citizen who made Canada proud. That kind of reception showed he had transcended bodybuilding, becoming a figure admired by society at large. Beyond parades and magazines, Leo also appeared in commercials and campaigns promoting health and fitness products. His image was synonymous with trust and inspiration, making him the perfect face for companies eager to connect with a healthier lifestyle movement. His credibility as a natural, disciplined athlete gave these campaigns real weight. This wave of media recognition didn't just expand his career, it made his image timeless. The photos, magazine covers, and videos still circulate today, inspiring athletes and fans of classic bodybuilding everywhere. Away from the spotlight, Robert built a steady life with his wife, Diane, his lifelong partner in the journey. Together, they shared not only a marriage, but also a philosophy of health, discipline, and balance. Diane was a constant presence, supporting his choices and embracing the same dedication to physical and spiritual well-being that defined her husband's path. After stepping away from competition, Robert didn't leave the bodybuilding world behind. Instead, he poured his experience into opening and running 4 gyms in Montreal, where he trained hundreds of students. Later, he moved to Canada's West Coast, founding a gym connected to a medical clinic, an innovative space that combined exercise with healthcare. But his work extended beyond gym walls. Robert became a true mentor, shaping new champions, including athletes who went on to win titles like Mr. Canada and Most Muscular America. He also partnered with institutions like the police, fire department, and military forces, preparing professionals whose duty demanded real strength and endurance to serve society. Even after stepping away from competition, Leo never gave up his role as a mentor. He kept working as a health and fitness consultant, guiding everyday people who just wanted to live better. For him, the real legacy wasn't about trophies. It was about inspiring others to experience the benefits of a healthy body and a disciplined mind. Spirituality also played a key role in his life. Raised in a Catholic family, Robert kept his faith close, blending it with his philosophy of discipline and moderation. For him, a balanced life wasn't only about training and nutrition, it also included moral and spiritual values. That outlook helped him face challenges calmly and spread messages of hope and perseverance to those around him. That balance and simplicity made him even more admired. He wasn't just the champion who impressed on stage. He was the man who appreciated the small things: family, friends, health. Robert showed that true greatness isn't only in what we achieve for ourselves, but in what we share with others. In his personal life and after his competitive years, Robert built a legacy just as strong as the one he left on stage. He proved that a bodybuilder doesn't need to be remembered only for muscle, but for the ability to teach, inspire, and live with purpose. Even long after leaving the spotlight, Robert never gave up training and caring for his health. Well into old age, he maintained an impressive physique, with a defined midsection and proportions many younger athletes would envy. His consistency proved his discipline wasn't just for contests. It was a lifestyle that lasted decades, showing that bodybuilding can mean vitality and longevity. In his later years, Robert also contributed to advancing knowledge on health. He took part in research on nutrition and essential fatty acids, blending his hands-on experience with the scientific field. His involvement in studies around Udo's oil blend reinforced his belief that natural, balanced nutrition was one of the pillars of performance and long-term well-being. That commitment stayed with him until the end. Robert passed away on November 28, 2016, in Vancouver at 95 years old. What he left behind wasn't just a Mr. Universe title or a list of wins, but proof that discipline and perseverance can shape not only the body, but an entire life. His longevity alone was living evidence of how effective his philosophy really was. Leo Roberts' legacy is twofold. On one hand, he'll always be remembered as the first Canadian to win Mr. Universe, a historic mark in the sport. On the other, his image went far beyond the stage. He stood for the pursuit of aesthetic, proportional physiques in an era when bulk was starting to dominate. His advocacy for health, balance, and natural bodybuilding still echoes among those who value the classic style. Today, his story continues to inspire athletes and fans worldwide. In a landscape filled with mass monsters, Leo remains proof that physical beauty isn't about size alone. It's about harmony and discipline. His life shows there's no glory without effort, no victory without sacrifice, and that the greatest win of all is staying true to your values. Looking back on his journey, it's clear Leo wasn't just chasing titles. He wanted to be an example. His humility, dedication, and faith made him a true ambassador for the sport, someone who lifted the image of bodybuilding far beyond the competition stage. The respect he earned as a man was just as great as what he achieved as an athlete, and that's why Leo Robert closes his story as a timeless icon, remembered not only for his classic physique, but for his philosophy of life. His perseverance and discipline live on, inspiring new generations to believe the body can be transformed. But the greatest transformation always happens in the mind and heart. Leo Roberts' life proves that discipline, dedication, and passion can change destinies. He started out just wanting to improve his health and ended up as a global bodybuilding icon, leaving behind a legacy that still inspires today. And now I want to hear from you. Which part of Leo's story impressed you the most? His discipline and training, his life philosophy, or his historic Mr. Universe win? Drop your opinion in the comments. I'd love to know what stood out to you. If this video inspired you, don't forget to hit that like button. That simple gesture helps the channel grow and keeps us bringing more stories of legends who shaped bodybuilding history. And of course, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. If you'd like to support our work even further, consider becoming a channel member. Leo Roberts' legacy is proof that bodybuilding is about more than muscles. It's about character, health, and the strength to never quit. And that's the message we want to spread together with you in every video. So you know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, and come join our community. And don't go just yet. On the end screen, I've left another special video for you. Another legend of classic bodybuilding whose story is worth discovering. Click it and keep the journey going with us. Because each video is more than just information, it's an invitation to get inspired, to reflect, and to transform your own life.